can't help it if people don't believe what I say every time I'm up here before the draft. So, I mean, I think I'm pretty clear in terms of, our philosophy in that regard. I can't help it if people don't pay attention.
And welcome inside. It's always game day in Cleveland. It is a draft edition for the Browns because we now have some new members of the team. Looking forward to talking about them. He is Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. We are brought to you, as always, by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, you just heard it from the boss. I got to tell you, no surprises. And they did. There's only one tiny thing I thought they might do, but actually two tiny things I thought they would do, but it doesn't really matter, and they got accomplished, I think, what they wanted to get accomplished, according to what we just heard, too.
I think this is the Daryl I Told You So podcast.
Oh, congratulations.
He did exactly what I said he was going to do.
You know what, Daryl? Hang on. Let me just double down on that. I hate you because he did exactly what you did, and you also said the freaking Cavaliers would come back 2-2 after going to Orlando after I told you I thought it would be a sweep. I thought the series would be over by today.
Oh,
man, that was miserable basketball to watch over the weekend.
I really
thank God for the Browns and the Guardians, by the way. I'll give the Guardians credit too this weekend, even though
they lost 2 or 3 to the Braves, though. So
they played hard though. They played, they live and die by the way you thought they would on the base paths. But we're here to talk about the Browns. I know.
But we have some breaking news.
Oh, good. Let me hear
it just happened because and I hate to derail the podcast right out of the break, but this is what I do.
Okay.
So your complete and utter disdain for the Major League Baseball uniforms.
I heard this, but keep going. It's semi-breaking news for me.
It is being addressed according to
Jeff
Matson of ESPN.
Thank you, Jeff.
But it's not going to be done until next year.
That's so weak.
I know they're not going to be able to, but all the small lettering, the see-through pants, all that. Basically, there was a memo that was sent to the Major League Baseball Players Association completely blaming Nike and absolving Fanatics, because Fanatics, who was manufacturing the uniforms, they're the ones that were taking all the heat for the see-through pants and the El Cheapo style of uniform that is out there, whatever. But
more breathable.
Yeah. Well, apparently they weren't very breathable. According
they were see-throughable.
Well, there's that too. But good news for you, Andy. You got your wish.
All right, I got one thing right this weekend.
You got one thing, and that is the Major League Baseball uniforms will be fixed. But I was 100% right. Kudos to me. While all the hosts at the station at 92.3 The Fan told me I didn't know what I was talking about last week.
I never once said you didn't know. When we talked about the Cavaliers, I was like, well, I thought they'd sweep, but that was about the only thing.
Everybody thought it was going to be a receiver at the top of the draft, or a tight end, or a running back.
I said that.
No. It was going to be offensive line. It was going to be defensive line. And hey, what do you know? The first pick in the draft was a defensive lineman. The second pick in the draft for the Browns was an offensive lineman. I told you so. Victory lap for me.
Are you done?
Now
Are you done? Did I not? I called defense the whole way, especially knowing that, especially after the first round, after watching the first round and watching the first 15 players get selected offensively. I mean, it was just like a smorgasbord of defensive players that were available for the Browns and they were their first pick. So I was glad they took Michael Hall. It was funny. One of my neighbors was one of his coaches. Was on the coaching staff at Street Sport. Didn't actually coach him. He was out of there before he had come into high school, but had nothing but unbelievable things to say about not only Michael, but his family as well, and how great this is going to be and how exciting it's going to be for him and for the city as well. So it's good to get a hometown guy, especially with your top pick in the draft.
Yeah, and we'll get into this later, but as far as why I feel bad for Michael growing up as a Browns fan, there's something he said, and we're gonna in our next segment we'll have it for you. There's just something he said in his introductory press conference that my heart sank and then broke for him because the highlight of his youth as a Browns fan, just borderline tragic. And again, we're gonna get into that, but you're right. And people forget. Hall started out at Benedictine in high school, but his mom ended up getting a job down in Streetsboro, so it was easier for him to transfer and play down there.
It's a long drive.
It really is, about an hour long. But I think
you
that
can make it faster. But.
Yeah, I think that this particular pick fits so well with Jim Schwartz philosophically and what they want to do. And when I look at what Andrew Berry did in this draft, Andy, again, victory lap for me. It's exactly what I expected from it. These are guys that, even starting with Michael Hall, even starting with Zach Zinter, okay, Jamari Thrash, like, I don't expect a lot from these guys as rookies. Now, that's not to say that these are bad picks or that these are not good players, because I think most of these guys are really good players, and I like what Andrew Berry did, but they're not going to have a tremendous amount of impact as rookies because, quite frankly, and hopefully, right, and we're hoping that they don't have to have that much of an impact, because that means the top of the roster is performing, the team is winning, the team is healthy. These guys, quite frankly, aren't needed. They can stay on the practice squad, they can be redshirted or whatever term you want to use, right, where they can learn, because that's where the Browns are at right now. And this is something else I want to talk about later in the podcast too, because I've been alluding to it a lot in recent weeks. They aren't in a position with the roster where they don't have to have rookies step on the field and play immediately,
Right.
and have an immediate impact.
I think that was the key to the whole draft. That, when I talked about people about the draft this weekend as well, it was kind of lackluster, and that's okay. It shows that the team is going in the right direction. And to be honest with you, I hope the drafts moving forward until I'm done on this earth that they're all lackluster, because we've had so many that's so important with 2 first picks in the top 10, and we got the number 1 overall, and I'm tired of it. You know what I want? I want the Browns to have the 32nd pick in the first round. That's what I want. That's my dream. And I think that's every Browns fan's dream too, is to have the last pick in the first round, not the first pick in the first round. And so I'm kind of okay with where they are. I thought they did a nice job. We'll see how these guys play. But I thought that they were able to go out and get guys that they needed positionally, exactly what they wanted.
And next year is going to be the draft where, yes, they will need some of these rookies to contribute, not only this year, but next year's rookie class. Looking at it real quick, like, the Browns have their first, their second, their third, and their fourth round picks. They also have their 6th round pick. And then they have 2 additional 6th rounders from trades with the Vikings and Lions, as well as a 7th round pick that they acquired from Minnesota as well. So it is a stacked draft from an asset standpoint for the Browns next year. And next year, too, they're going to have some players become free agents. They're going to have some holes that they're actually going to have to fill with some younger, more roster salary manageable talent. And they're going to be positioned to do that. The Deshaun Watson trade now has been paid in full as far as the compensation to the Houston Texans. That is done and over with. And now Browns fan can look forward to, hopefully, Watson beginning to pay those dividends from that very expensive trade that cost the Browns a total of 6 picks, including each of their last 3 first-round selections. And hopefully they start seeing some dividends from that starting this fall with Watson playing well. But hey, the Los Angeles Rams finally used the first-round pick. Congratulations to them. I think it was like the first time in 25 years that they made a first-round selection. And for all those that are all freaking out because the Browns did go 3 years without a first-round pick, the Rams got a Vince Lombardi trophy in the case without making first-round picks, okay? They were able to use their draft assets to win a championship. So the Browns, from my standpoint, I don't think that they're far off. I don't know that they're at that level just yet, Andy, where they're going to, break through that ceiling and win a Super Bowl. But if they stay healthy, and if some of the guys coming off injury from last year are healthy, I do feel like that they will be legitimate contenders, not only in the division, but they'll have an opportunity to make some noise come the postseason in January.
All right, let's hear from those first 2 picks. We'll do that coming up on It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. It is always Game Day in Cleveland, the draft edition. We're glad you're with us, whether you're listening on the Odyssey app or you're watching on YouTube. Always a pleasure. Today, I trying to match wits with Daryl with all of his bobbleheads in the background. I have a few. I figured I'd sit in front of my bobblehead look here. Want to remind you that we are brought to you locally by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling systems. And I got to tell you, I know you're going to be jealous of this bad boy. Look at this. Oh, there they are.
Oh,
There
no,
they are. I'm not
you
even taking it out
didn't.
of the box, baby.
Oh man,
And it is so. That's the closest thing I'm going to be professional, because I own those same 2 jackets those guys have on right there.
oh man, that is the Kelsey brothers bobblehead to have.
I got to tell you, it went right up the chart for the things that I have in my basement. I don't know if I've ever told you my other prized possession down here. You have a lot of prized possessions behind you. We've talked about that in the past. I've ever shown you. Oh, it's on this side. Oh, ow, 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 ow. Got a little stiff shoulder. This is my last one. I'm gonna show you really quick.
I know what you know. Before you show it, can I guess?
Have you seen this?
No,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
haven't seen it. Can I guess what it is?
Yep.
It's a champagne bottle from the
Yes.
Cavalier locker room in 2016.
Boom.
Wow,
Straight-
that is awesome.
Straight out of the garbage. See that OHIO logo in there? And then
That is awesome.
it is a. Yep.
Unfortunately, it's not filled though. It's empty.
It's got a Cleveland thing. Yeah, I didn't touch any of it. I'm not a big drinker, but
Is that the one that has the Cavalier NBA champions logo on it too?
no. Well, it's a champ. Yeah, it's
Because
but
I
it
know
doesn't
I
say-
know they had some special edition that they were spraying around that had the actual Cavs NBA champions.
Yeah, there's. I mean, you can see it. This is the logo itself.
Show the logo to the folks.
I don't know if you can really see it. The lighting's kind of goofy. It's that logo, and it might be coming in backwards. I don't know.
Oh,
But that's the Ohio. But it says like there's a map of Ohio in there too. Columbus.
Yep, I see it.
It's pretty amazing. So
Very
not bad for
cool.
a piece of garbage. One person's garbage is another person's treasure. Isn't that right?
Thanks for
that what we
pulling
said?
one. Thanks for pulling one out for me.
Yeah, no problem. I was lucky enough to take it out myself. I felt bad. I've never taken anything from a locker room, but it was in the garbage can,
Hey,
and the garbage
listen,
can was right by the door, and I was like, "It's garbage."
there
like,
are
Once you throw it away, it's garbage, right? Like I should
that's
never
fair.
feel bad about that.
But there are media members who I have witnessed eat off the post-game buffets in locker rooms before. I have witnessed
No.
it. I have witnessed
Really?
media members. Yes, I have witnessed media members try and take selfies with players in locker rooms before. Oh yeah. We had a media member a couple of weeks ago in the middle of a press conference thank Deshaun Watson for bringing minimum wage jobs to Cleveland Heights with his restaurant in the middle of a press conference after said media member also attended the opening of the restaurant where he could have just expressed that to Deshaun
Yeah.
personally, but he
Weird.
took the time in the
Not-
middle
is
of the
that
press
not-
conference.
Not
to
a
say
not
thank
a regular beat writer though, right?
No, oh no.
Yeah.
This guy would never qualify for a regular beat writer. He definitely doesn't have the resume to be able to do that. But
TV, radio, newspaper. Just,
I
need
don't
to
want to
name.
say if anyone heard the press conference, you know who did it. So
I'm gonna go. I'm
no,
just gonna
nope.
say
No
no. Just
names.
can I just guess?
nope, no names.
I'm not
No names.
asking for a name. I'm not giving you a name. I'm gonna what area of media they work in.
No, okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna 100%. I'm gonna say green television reporter.
Yes, kind of sort of.
Boom, man. That's
Well,
20
actually,
years
no.
in local news.
No, not. I wouldn't say green. Yes, television reporter. I'm trying to think. I don't know that applies.
Local news. I was gonna say local news.
I'll
Don't
just
give
say,
it away. That's all right.
I'll say fringe media member.
Oh, I know what it is.
You know exactly who it is. Yes. So if there's ever a time to, and you know what's funny is same media member accused me of being a jock sniffer on Twitter a few years ago, and I had to block.
No.
Yes, called me
No.
a jock sniffer on Twitter. Said that all I do is kiss Baker Mayfield's ass and players' ass and coaches' ass and whatever. And
I don't understand. Why'd you light him up now? Who cares?
Nah, because I don't want to give them any publicity. But I think you of all people would attest. The last thing you could ever call me is a jock sniffer and a kiss.
Never.
When it like, there were times where the Browns wanted to ban me from the building. There were times when the Guardians/Indians wanted to ban me from the building. There
have been times when 92.3 The Fan wanted you ban you from the building. Don't sell yourself short. You're a tremendous slouch. All right, let's get back to the Browns. So, Daryl, you're in all the press conferences. Set this up, will you please?
Yeah, so we did get to meet Zach Zinter and Michael Hall on Saturday afternoon in the middle of day 3. Obviously, Hall and Zinter, they have quite the history as combatants in the rivalry, the game. And of course, they were unfortunately entangled in one of the most gruesome injuries we've ever seen in college football, with Zach Zinter suffering multiple fractures in his leg. So here is a couple of clips from Zinter and Hall talking not only about their rivalry, OSU v. the U of M, but also now being Brown's teammates.
Yeah, I mean, it started off, like how it is, but let's go win a Super Bowl. Why not? You know what I mean? So we guess we were enemies in college, but now we're brothers. Now we're brothers and teammates. So.
Right. I mean, it's as harsh as it sounds. I mean, we're brothers now, so you got to put the past aside, and we got to go out there and go win one. Yeah, I mean, I would just say, first off, the game, in itself, the up north and Ohio State rivalry is insane. From day one, whenever you attend these prestigious colleges, that's the main goal. So, but being my rival my first, my 3 years throughout my career, and then finally being teammates, yeah, it's crazy to, see him in the building. I'm going to be seeing him day in and day out, But I mean, we're brothers now, and it's all about that.
I expect to be on the field for rookie minicamp here in a week and a half. Going through all the stuff on the field, and just see what goes. But my leg feels really good now, so I expect to be on the field.
Yeah, being with my hometown team has just been a blessing come true. It's the greatest feeling ever. I feel like, everybody wants to stay home, but, sometimes it's not a reality. But waking up this morning is an actual reality. Waking up as a Cleveland Brown, it's insane. I talked about this with my family, friends, since I was, ever since I played football, at the age of 6. I remember when Johnny Manziel got drafted here, Trent Richardson. That was the best thing ever. I even still watch little highlights and stuff from the old things. But yeah, it's just a dream come true to be a Cleveland Brown here, growing up here, been here my whole life. So it's just a hell of a feeling. Disrupting, just causing havoc. I feel like the best thing ever is just making a quarterback, just look at you pre-snap and, just just having that anticipation, just disrupting. That's the whole thing of D-line, and just chasing after a quarterback all day. It's the best thing ever.
This was the only injury that has ever taken me away from the game ever in my career, especially, through the last couple seasons, coming into this season, coming back for the last year, it being the game against Ohio State, senior night in the big house, all that kind of stuff. It definitely brought the appreciation and love that I have for the game back, because I missed being out there with the boys. I want to get back on the field. I want to start producing and doing all that stuff again, and it really did bring the love back. I've been going on a great run, and to have it all taken away really hurt. So I'm excited to keep grinding and get back out on the field.
Yeah, and Daryl, as well as I do, that when Ohio State and Michigan play, I'm all about Ohio State, Michigan, and not liking Michigan at the point. But I got to tell you, whether it's Braylon Edwards or Aaron Shea or whoever, once you put on a Browns uniform, I don't care that you played at Michigan. You play for the Browns now. It's interesting that there are a lot of Browns fans that sometimes don't feel that way, but I'm sorry, man. Leroy Horde, you didn't love Leroy Horde? Steve Everett isn't one of the favorites of all time for the way he just embraced us after Art Modell ripped the team out. So forget about whether they played at Michigan. Tom Darden, one of my favorite, of all time. All those guys went to Michigan, and I could care less that they played at Michigan. Jim Jones, I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and there was nothing intentional about that play. It was a freak accident, devastating injury. It was a play, though, that ultimately, I think, changed the course of that particular game. Michigan ended up scoring on the very next play.
It changed everything, I thought.
Yeah, and then they just ran away with that game on their way to a national championship. We did hear Zinter in that montage there that I put together. He's going to be available at rookie minicamp, that he is going to be on the field. He's going to be participating. So, and he did talk a little bit about this, not only in his conference call, Andy, Friday night with us, but also again, during his intro on Saturday, and how that it was almost a blessing that it was broken bone, because the broken bone can heal. It wasn't torn ligaments and things like that, which take even longer to heal. So, he should be able to mostly participate during rookie minicamp, and then as they go deeper into the offseason program, the OTAs, the mandatory minicamp, and things like that, he should be able to close to fully participate in those exercises. So there should be no reoccurring, or I should say, there should be no lingering effects from that devastating injury.
All right, so we got a chance to hear from both those guys. I still need to hear a little bit more, and I want to hear from Andrew Berry, and we'll talk more about the draft in general, especially some of those players that the Browns have picked. So it's always game day in Cleveland. It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Again, we want to let you know that somewhere down the road here, very shortly, there will be a major announcement coming to this podcast, and we all appreciate everybody that watches us on YouTube, and we definitely appreciate you listening along lines on the Odyssey app or at 923thefan.com, where we had a ton of run last week before the draft. And we're going to be welcoming in a lot more things, more social media interaction. I'll just give you a heads up on that. More emails, maybe just some fun things that we can do that are interactive. All right, so let's look at the Browns draft as a whole. They did take 7 picks, and I talked about 2 things that I thought were little things at the beginning of the podcast, Daryl, that I thought the Browns might do, but I wasn't sure. 1 was an outside shot at a running back, and 2 was what you said about 7th round. I didn't think he would take both those picks, but I got to tell you, Jamel White is probably very, very happy that Miles Harden was picked, because Jamel is a super friend of not only Baskin and Phelps, but of this podcast as well, the former Browns running back, who is an outstanding sprinting coach at Riverside High School as well right now, and makes Cleveland his home. Has another friend from South Dakota in Miles Harden, the cornerback, the 5'11" cornerback that they drafted with that pick that they got from Tennessee. So, but let's just talk about the draft as a whole, my friend.
Yeah, he did use the 2 7th round picks, which from my perspective is a cardinal sin.
Because it made you stay later.
Well, and Andrew Berry and I had a conversation about this on Saturday. It may or may not have got back to him that I was withholding my Executive of the Year vote.
Well, I'm sure he lost a lot of sleep over that one.
Totally lost a lot of sleep, but he tried. He actually tried to trade the picks. And here's Berry recapping the draft, including the fact that they actually got through a draft where he did not make a trade at all. He used every pick where they stood.
It wasn't for a lack of effort, I can assure you. We were talking about that as we were coming downstairs. It's like, man, this is the first draft that we haven't executed a trade. I blame it on Kwesi, and you can quote me on that, because Kevin was joking. He's like, I've never heard 2 people talk more about trades involving 7th round picks than the 2 of you and not get a deal done. But we had a number of opportunities where we were either trying to move around today, and like we talked about yesterday, we had a couple opportunities, but it just didn't make sense for whatever reason. But I would not say that that's going to be the new MO. Truthfully, I do, Daryl. I certainly hope so. But we feel good about the health and depth of the roster. We won't know till we get to the fall, because as I say every year, guys surprise you in both directions. And things change fast in the NFL, as we see. So, as we sit here today, though, we're happy with where we stand. We're not satisfied, and we know that we still have work to do and areas to bolster and supplement. But we do feel good about the health as we stand today. Everyone's going to say they accomplished what they intended to accomplish, but the truth is none of us actually know. All we can say is we tried to make the best decisions that were at the moments that they were placed in front of us. I think we had some goals in terms of pick management or resource management that we weren't afforded the right opportunity to execute on. But that being said, we're happy with the group of players that we're bringing in.
All right, so there you have it. I mean, he gave you what he thought about the 7th rounders and everything you needed to know, I think, about the draft in general. Daryl, and we kind of alluded to it in the beginning, but so you get 4 guys on defense, 3 guys on offense. Just kind of the dam doesn't have a whole lot of holes, and it wasn't like they needed cement or putty or anything. They just put little pieces of bubble gum in the dam, I thought, for this draft.
Yeah, and that's really what it was about. And as I had been alluding to, Andy, this is not a draft where these kids are going to be expected to come in and have major roles right away. This is about bringing guys in who have a tremendous ceiling that they can work with, the assistant coaches can work with, and they can develop them. And again, that's not to say that you're not going to see them this fall, but it's just that the fate of the season does not rest on the shoulders of these young men. But I love the addition of Michael Hall to that defensive line group. Zinter gives you some more depth behind Joel Bitonio. and Wyatt Teller. We'll see if he ends up on the right or the left side there. Jamari Thrash, Jeff Phelps is probably doing cartwheels. That's another young wide receiver added to the mix, by the way. 5 drafts for Andrew Berry, 5 wide receivers taken. 2 of them have already washed out, Anthony Schwartz and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think another guy's about to wash out in David Bell. We'll see.
I hope
But
not, but okay.
I asked Barry specifically about the fact that he's taking these receivers, and if it's a byproduct of, hey, you're trying to get one of these guys to stick. And
did he say, Daryl, at least I waited till the 5th round and not the 3rd round this year?
Well, but here's the thing. From my standpoint, I'd like to see a receiver taken higher because it's a higher probability of success. Whereas it's hard to criticize when it's 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round picks that aren't making it, Andy. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's easy to, there's like,
I got to tell you,
5, and
Daryl,
2 are already gone. Because
when I look at wide receivers, though, I just don't understand the infatuation with having multiple receivers 6 foot and under. I just, to me, a wide receiver, a good one's going to be at least 6'1", maybe 6'2".
Cedric Tillman's not short.
No, I know. And they grabbed him, but I mean, and it's not just Barry. It's the last couple general managers that have just fallen in love with 6 foot wide receivers. That doesn't do it for me. I want a little bit more.
Hey, unlike Ray Farmer, at least Andrew Berry likes adding to the wide receiver core.
Well, Ray didn't even care about wide receivers at all. He's wide receivers, a dime a dozen. They're not a dime a dozen. They're not. Andy. No, I know. I hear you. All right, give me your other thoughts on this draft here, too.
I had mentioned that I felt linebacker was somewhere where they needed to add a little depth. They do that with the kid out of Mississippi State, Nathaniel Wilson. He was a finalist for the Butkus Award. This is a third team AP.
Should I ask why 6th round with him, Daryl?
He had a few off the field issues.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm unaware of that.
He I believe one of those was a DUI last May. But yeah, he had some red flags in his background, but Barry was asked about those in the press conference over the weekend. And he said that they're very comfortable with the red flags, that they're not really concerned about, those issues. They're pretty confident with him.
Let's be honest.
Just to be specific here, because I don't want to speak in generalities, obviously, when we're talking about red flags. I want to be fair, want to be specific.
Right.
And I want to give a hat tip to my good friend, Dane Brugler from The Athletic. He puts out that outstanding draft guide. He calls it the Beast every year. He had noted in Watson's profile and that he was arrested on suspicion of DUI last May. He was also arrested during high school, where he was charged with felony first-degree assault and traffic violations after an alleged drag racing incident. So those were the red flags that were in his.
Let's be really honest, Daryl. If it came to the flags on a player, I mean, the Browns would win every NASCAR race. It doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're to me, that sounds like, and I don't know, maybe I shouldn't go down this road or not, but those sound like young, immature, irresponsible things that, and that's how I think you find steals in the draft. And, we laughed about, maybe you get lucky and you find a guy that took a bong hit with a gas mask on.
Yeah.
And then you're one of the best players in the league, and no one talks about that anymore.
And by
part of it's a little bit luck,
And that particular substance has been normalized and legalized through much of the country. One touch real quick on the 7th round picks here, Andy.
Sure. Yep.
You mentioned Miles Harden from South Dakota, the corner there. I think he's got a chance to help out on special teams, along with Jawan Briggs from Cincinnati, another defensive tackle there. And Barry did admit that, that's something that they were wrestling with when they were doing some of these evaluations, because let's be honest about it, younger players, the expectation is that they're going to be able to contribute in some way, shape, or form on special teams. The special teams roles are changing now, right? With the new kickoff.
Yeah, I am really curious how this is going to look.
Yeah, so Barry did concede that that's the being stuck between the rock and the hard place when trying to make some of these projections and evaluations and selections, the consideration of this new kickoff rule and whether or not these kids might be able to help out on those particular units. So there you go. That's the class of 2024, 6 members, as you alluded to earlier, 6 of them on the defensive side of the ball, or I should say 4 of them on the defensive side of the ball, 2 of them on the offensive side of things. And again, these are players that hopefully will develop into starters in 2025, 2026, as they now have that Ferris wheel, as we heard Andrew Berry answer my question about. I had asked him there about whether or not the organization had reached that point where they can naturally churn over the roster themselves, as opposed to where he's having to use draft picks to fix holes in the dam, right? Well, because when he took over as GM, yeah, the Browns were in pretty good shape, but there were things he needed to really address and patch. And there was some short-term fixes, some long-term, try and find some long-term fixes and things like that. And now they're at a spot where they can organically build their depth with some of these draft picks. And as I said earlier, next year is when we're going to have a draft class where you're expecting 2, maybe 3 guys to be able to step into either starting roles or significant reserve roles to contribute and help this football team keep winning games.
He is Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. We are back again later this week with another edition of It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. More to talk about with the rookies, rookie minicamp, regular minicamp, all kinds of things are all coming up straight ahead as we start to gear back into the season. I know that makes the coaching staff extremely happy, and it makes us happy as well. He is Daryl. I'm Andy. It's Always Game Day in Cleveland.